Welcome inside the RX Muscle Studios for another episode of Ask Dave, better known as #AskDave. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. Glad you can join us on this Wednesday afternoon, 30-minute question and answers with Dave Palumbo. Anything on diet, supplementation, training, IFBB pros, competitions, your questions on the upcoming Arnold, anything and everything is on the table as we bring in Dave Palumbo. Dave, after this show at about 5:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be joined by Seth, who's making a lot of headlines over the last couple of weeks.
Ferocious Seth Feroci. That is the best name, I think, in the industry. I love it. But yeah, Seth is a good guy. I've known him for many years since he turned pro back in 2009. I met him. Jerry Beck introduced him to me, actually, and it'll be interesting to get him on. A very forthright, honest guy, and I think you're going to get, I don't know what he's going to reveal, but I know the questions I want to ask him, so I think we're going to get some really good insight into what happened in Seth Feroci's life, because he turned pro as quick as Phil Heath did, and won his first pro show, and then had a couple bad outings and then disappeared. So it'll be interesting to see what happened. I have one little rant I do want to make because this is the month of January and February, very slow months in the bodybuilding industry. People don't know what the freak to talk about, what to do. They're rich pianoed out of their mind. All they do is argue with each other about who's doing this, who's doing that, who's cycle, this cycle, that cycle. No one knows what to talk about because there's no bodybuilding shows going on. And there's some silly, idiotic bodybuilder out there who is now decided that there's nothing to do or talk about, so he's going to go on a crusade against circumcisions. I don't know if you've seen this. This guy has going out and telling people that it's wrong morally. It mentally impacts the kid for his whole life. Psychological damage. He's going to have to go see a psychiatrist, and he's on an anti-crusade against kids who get circumcised. I've never heard. I don't know what people don't have anything to waste their time on that's important. So they have to find their own crusade to go on to get attention. And with social media, they get it. It's unbelievable. I can't believe that with all the important things that you could possibly be focusing your energy on in this day and age, that people are worried about kids who got circumcised 30 years ago. That's my rant.
On that note, if you have a question for Dave, if you want to set Dave off on another rant, you can join us on the Muscle Central forum on rxmuscle.com, on the YouTube channel. So if you're watching us on YouTube, if you're watching us live, you can ask your question on the right-hand side of the video player. And if you're watching us for the first time, please subscribe, hitting the button below. You're not going to miss any of our shows, segments, updates. Everything is going to be delivered straight to you via YouTube and your email. We start off with our good friend Miguel Beast 93. Dave, what do you think about the John Defendis workout program that involves high volume training and no cardio? Is that effective to build muscle mass and burn fat?
Well, he calls it intensity or insanity training, and I call it insanity training. I've tried high volume type workouts, and they work terribly for me. I overtrain very easily. Not many people can do that and really grow. Personally, I think that even people who can get through the workouts wind up in an overtrained state, and they even though they do grow somewhat and they do stay leaner, I don't think it's a productive thing that can be done long term. I think you get burnout on that. So while I enjoy listening to John Defendis' stories about all the crazy training he did and still does to this day, I don't think it's a productive thing for most people to do.
Let's go to Drew V. General question, but it's a question that probably a lot of people have on their minds. Do bodybuilders have a sex drive? Please advise.
Bodybuilders usually have a very high sex drive. As a matter of fact, their sex drive is so high, most of them, that they wind up getting in big trouble with their relationships because of infidelity and flirting and stuff like that. So, yeah, I would think that bodybuilders have a very high sex drive. And I think guys that supplement with anabolic steroids, their sex drive is even super enhanced. I always call it the porn star sex drive of the bodybuilder. And that, once again, usually winds up getting them in trouble.
Let's go to Pashak Bodybuilding. Dave, what do you think about warm showers post-workout for fat-burning effects, muscle relaxation, and other possible benefits? P.S. I hate this show.
Well, I mean, it's always nice to take a shower after you work out so you don't stink. I think that's the main, that's probably the best benefit you can get from taking a shower after you work out. I don't think they're necessary. I don't think it's really going to do anything in terms of for recovery, or if anything, after you work out, you want to probably dip yourself in an ice bath because to reduce inflammation a little bit. But once again, I always tell people, do what feels good. You know what I mean? If you feel good at taking a shower after you train, a warm shower, then great. If you feel good, jumping in a cold pool, then that's great as well. Everyone has a different, thing that makes them feel good. I personally, I like to do cardio sometimes after I train, especially leg workout, because I feel it helps flush out lactic acid in my legs. For other body parts, upper body, I don't like doing cardio after I train. So, it's a personal preference. You have to figure out what works best for your body. A lot of times, though, guys do cardio every single day after they do a workout, and that sometimes is counterproductive to building mass. So, once again, some guys will go and get massages after they train. One thing don't ever do, and I made this mistake once, don't get a massage first and then go to the gym. Bad idea.
Let's go to Nuno Rodriguez. Dave, if a whey protein powder has high glycine content, should it be avoided?
I don't see why not. I don't see why it should be avoided. Glycine is just another amino acid. It's not going to do anything negative to the body. Personally, I like to use whey protein isolates that don't have added amino acids to them, because usually when that's the case, they're usually padding the protein powder. In other words, rather than giving you, say, 27 grams of protein per serving, all from whey isolate, they're giving you maybe 22 grams, per serving, with the rest being just amino acids. It's kind of like, and I always use this analogy, people get a kick out of it. It's like cutting cocaine. If you add inositol to cocaine, you're not having 100% cocaine. You want to get your full strength version. So I don't like adding extra amino acids to my protein powders. However, whatever's naturally in there is fine.
Scott Stacy wants to know why you have CLA in your omega supplement, stating that you constantly talk about how CLA is useless.
Yeah, it's a good question, and that the irony of the whole thing is I don't add CLA to the product. Evening primrose oil, which I find is a very is an excellent source of gamma-linolenic acid, which is an essential omega-6 fat, naturally contains CLA. So when you break down primrose oil into its components, it contains GLA, gamma-linolenic acid, and CLA. So it's in there already. It's like I can't get it out of there. It's not going to do you any harm. It's just the people who take CLA thinking they're going to get more muscle and burn fat, those are the people I make fun of. It's not that it's a bad supplement to take. It's not going to do anything. It's not an essential fat, but it's not going to harm you if you take it either.
So we get this question often, and now that, again, not to say that Dave takes credit for this division, but he did talk about this division quite a lot before it was, officially introduced, and that is a classic bodybuilding show. So Bugatti Raw wants to know, when will we have a Palumbo Classic, and when will it be essentially including the Palumbo Classic division?
You want me to make another division, the Palumbo division?
No, he wants to know, I stated that incorrectly. He wants to know basically when we're going to have the Palumbo Classic, which will feature the Classic Men's division.
I'm not adverse to putting on a show, promoting a show. I'm just, I don't have any freaking time. And I'm a neurotic. I have to do things perfectly. If I'm going to put a show on, it's got to be a great show. So to me, if I can't give 100% to it, or I don't have a partner or someone who's going to do a lot of the legwork for me, then I'm not going to do it. I won't do it half-assed. A couple of years back, Trey Bennett and I put on the RX Muscle Classic. We held it for 1 year. The problem was we just didn't have, him and I both were overstretched, and we didn't have enough time to really put the thing together the way I wanted to. So, like I said, if I had someone come to me who was a real, truly great promoter, like a Dave Lieberman, for instance, and said, I want to do a Dave Palumbo Classic, I'd probably do it with him because I know he'll do all the legwork. But I won't do anything half-assed. That's the bottom line. And, I think I'm actually looking forward, and I don't take credit for anything, but the Classic Physique division is going to be a great division because it's finally another men's division where we can see some posing. We've had bodybuilding forever, obviously. They put in men's physique, which is kind of, to me, is like window dressing. Even though I respect the physiques, it's boring. Now we're going to have a division that's men's physique-ish bodies with posing, showing the legs. Love it. Can't wait.
You're watching Ask Dave on RxMuscle.com. Reminder, at about 5:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to have live with Seth Feroce. You're not going to want to miss that. Of course, we featured him on Muscle in the Morning a couple of days ago, and everyone loved it. You're going to see Seth Feroce, 5:15, right here on rxmuscle.com. Let's go to Daniel Veluzzi. And last week, Dave, you were asked who the most impressive bodybuilder in your opinion of all time is, and you gave a lengthy explanation as to why you think Ronnie Coleman, and you gave the story about how you're sitting next to him at Outback Steakhouse. So Daniel Veluzzi wants to know who is the biggest, freakiest person you've ever seen in person.
I think I said that last week too. I think I have to say it would be Greg Kovacs. Greg Kovacs was the most impressive size-wise of anyone. Rami's a freak. Don't get me wrong, but Rami's not that tall. Kovacs was like 6'4". I think he was maybe 6'2.5". But my point is that he was so huge that for me at 315 pounds to feel small next to someone, insignificant, for me to walk through a shopping mall in a tank top and shorts and have no one look at me but look at Greg because he was so much bigger, that to me is impressive. And Greg was the most impressive person when you looked at him in person. He could stand next to someone like a Ronnie Coleman and make Ronnie look small. And there's not many people that can do that.
Let's go to Pray for Aesthetics. This show sucks so much that my bald hair fell off even though I was using finasteride. Are spot injections effective for muscle growth in the area?
You know, I've talked about this before. You know, back in the day, everyone always said spot inject the muscles you're going to train. You know, it helps build muscle. And, you know, this was back before anyone knew anything. This was like in the early 90s. And what we used to do is we would put we would get an insulin pen and we would take the back off of it. We would squirt, you know, maybe a half cc to a cc into the insulin pen. We put the pin back on and we would inject it to separate body parts. Now, I'll tell you this. I don't believe that it causes local muscle growth. But I think if you can inject a half cc into your upper pec muscle, okay, before you train it, it creates inflammation in there. And when you're training that muscle, you actually feel the muscle contracting better, giving you a better mind-muscle connection, enabling you to train the muscle better. And I think that's what spot injecting really does more than anything. It gives you a better connection with that muscle and enables you to train it. Because I can't tell you how many people say, look, I'm trying to build my upper pecs. They just won't grow. And the truth of the matter is when they're doing incline, you know, pressing movements, they're just not feeling the upper pecs. If you don't feel the muscle contract, it won't grow. That's the biggest problem that beginners have who go to the gym. They go to the gym, they go through all the motions doing all the exercises, but they don't get good results because they don't feel the muscle contracting. Why? Because number one, there's not a lot of muscle there. Number two, there's not a lot of nerve recruitment because they haven't really built up these mental pathways, these nerve pathways. So the spot injection gives you that ability to have a better mind-muscle connection. It's not going to cause local growth, though.
Let's go to Big Jai. Hello, Dave. What is your opinion on, and he spelled this out, IIFYM, if it fits your macros?
Look, we've done multiple shows on this before. You know, look, it's moronic to think that if you need, say, 200 grams of protein a day and 100 grams of fat a day and 150 grams of carbs a day, that you can eat any fat source, any protein source, and any carb source you want and still have the same look to your body. That's ludicrous. That means eating bacon as your protein source all day long, eating butter as your fat source all day long, and eating Rice Krispies as your carb source is going to give you the same physique that lean fish, chicken as your protein source, brown rice as your carb source, and macadamia nut oil and almonds as your fat source is going to give you is moron. Anyone who would think that in their mind is nuts, and I don't have nothing else to say about it. Okay, people love gimmicks. I've never seen, the society has gotten to the point where they love gimmicky things. Anything that they can make them enjoy themselves more and suffer less. And they can rationalize it in their head, and they can get a bunch of internet morons to agree with them. They'll do anything. I mean, think about it. If you can get enough idiots to say, hey, this is the right way to do things, and it's enjoyable because you can eat whatever you want, pretty much, and you believe that it's working, then you're living in bliss. As we say, ignorance is bliss.
Let's go to Enrico LoCascio. What do you think about smoking weed after a workout?
As my dad told me a long time ago, if you want to be an athlete, you can't do drugs or drink. Okay, that's the bottom line, or smoke for that matter. I know guys that do a lot of weed. I think it's very counterproductive for bodybuilding purposes. When I was at my peak and when I was really focused on bodybuilding in the early part, when I really wanted to pack on the most muscle, when I put 100 pounds of muscle on in 5 years, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't do anything. All I did was eat, train, sleep. And you know what? I maximized my gains. If you really are that passionate about bodybuilding, you're spending a ton of money on food and supplements and stuff like that. You're training your ass off. Why would you want to do anything that might do something negative to your progress or negate some of your progress? Think about what marijuana does. We know that it increases the aromatization of testosterone. So, potheads, guys who don't even work out, who just smoke a lot of weed, they have gynecomastia. You know why? Because all the testosterone their body produces gets converted to estrogen. Why would you want to take a drug that converts the testosterone in your body that you need for muscle building into the feminizing hormone estrogen? It's ludicrous. If you really need to relax that bad, go take a yoga class.
We got a question from Michael Kyle. What is your favorite expo, and in 2016, which ones will you be attending?
My favorite expo since the beginning of bodybuilding has been the Arnold Classic. While the Olympia weekend is a little more exciting because it's like the Super Bowl, the Arnold Expo experience is second to none. I haven't seen anything anywhere in the world that has been better than the Arnold in the United States, the one in Columbus, Ohio. I don't think there ever will be because I don't think that anyone can generate as much excitement as Arnold Schwarzenegger can. Now, I did have a really good time at the one in Australia, and I went to the Australian Expo before it was called the Arnold Australia, when it was just, I guess, the FitX or whatever Tony Doherty had called it. That was fun, but the Arnold Classic USA, second to none. If anyone wants to go to a show and experience an expo that's going to change, it's like going to Disneyland, that's where you go.
You're watching Ask Dave on RxMuscle.com, brought to you by Species Nutrition. If you're watching us live, 5:15 p.m., which is in about 55 minutes, we're going to be joined by Seth Feroci. You got to see him on Muscle in the Morning a couple of days ago, and now we're going to have him on Live With, 5:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're watching us live and you're watching us for the first time, subscribe, hitting the button below. You're not going to miss any of our shows, segments, or updates. Let's go to Mr. McLellan. For a non-competitor, do you like to have any transition time between cutting and bulking and vice versa?
For a non-competitor, I don't know how that would differ from a competitor, but when I work with people and we're doing an off-season scenario and then switching into pre-contest before a show, I don't like to take a break in the middle. I'll tell you why. Because if you're making such good progress off-season, gaining muscle, and I'm assuming he's talking about taking gear and stuff like that, why would you want to go backwards before you start dieting? I like to go off-season, into pre-contest, do the show, after the show, clean, a thorough clean out, in detoxification period. That was a good burp. Speaking of burps, my son, Logan, when he drinks his bottle, and we give him a bottle, he sucks down a bottle every 2 hours, and then we got to burp him. When I burp Logan, it comes out both ends. I think that's the best way to relieve the gas, if you can get it to come out the bottom and the top. Luckily, it's not coming out the bottom right now for your sake, Sid, right now.
I'm thankful for that. Let's continue with Bugatti Raw. Dave, where do you see William Bowneck, who really had a sensational 2015? Where do you see him placing at the 2016 Olympia?
Bowneck is an interesting bodybuilder because he's got like that freak and mass appeal that Kai Green's got, but he's short. So in the smaller shows around the world, he dominates and he can win shows pretty much everywhere. When he gets to the Olympia or the Arnold stage, these guys are so much bigger than him and taller than him. Look, tall always beats short if all other things are equal, meaning muscle size, shape, and conditioning. So he's at a disadvantage on the bigger stages. It's a shame because he's kind of in between that 212 class and the open class. I put him he's not really a Darren Charles-ish bodybuilder, but he fits in that same category as Darren Charles. Darren Charles won a lot of pro shows in his career. He just couldn't win the big shows. When he would get to the Olympia and the Arnold, he wouldn't do that well because the guys outsized him. So, if you had to, we're mincing and we're dissecting, hairs here, but the bottom line is William Bowneck wins shows and he makes money. So I really can't say anything bad about that. I guess he's going to constantly try to improve and move up the ranks, but he's going to have a tougher time at those bigger shows.
Big J wants to know, can you get contest ready without cardio?
I've done contests without doing cardio. I guess it depends on your metabolism. If you have a really good metabolism, and there are guys out there like that, like Juan Morel, even though Juan does do cardio, he doesn't really need to. There are guys that don't need to do cardio, probably Dexter, and, it's a personal choice. A lot of guys who don't need to do cardio will do cardio and just eat more food. So, but for the majority of people out there, they need to do cardio to get in shape.
Daniel Reyes, Dave, what are your top fat-burning foods?
My top fat-burning foods, to say a food burns fat is kind of, it's really not stating what foods do. Foods have different effects on the body, thermic effects. They have different metabolism effects on the body. Dr. Scott Conley called this nutrient partitioning, meaning that certain foods are positive partitioners. They build muscle using stored body fat as the fuel source. And other foods are negative partitioners, meaning they just store body fat. Carbs, simple sugars, fatty sources of protein. These are negative partitioners. Positive partitioners are your lean sources of protein, good healthy essential fats, and fibrous carbs. So once again, what are the best fat-burning foods? Fibrous carbs would be the best, lean sources of protein, and essential fatty acids.
Let's go to Mr. C. Shadows. I hate this show so much, I'd rather watch the replay of Christian Duke on loop than watch any more new episodes. I kid you, as you can tell, I keep watching and I love the episodes. My question is, I've been doing 2 IUs of HGH for about 2 weeks, and if I'm 3 weeks out of a show, was told it will help me get a little leaner. Is that enough time for it to kick in or not? When does it kick in, and what's the best amount?
I get this question a lot. Growth hormone kicks in the day you take it, okay? But you might not see some of the results of it for a week or 2 or 3. So the second you take your first growth hormone shot, it's working. So if you got 3 weeks, 4 weeks to a show and you want to do a little growth hormone, while you won't get as many benefits as if you took it the whole diet or the whole time you were on the contest diet, it's still going to work.
I think it's Jorge Exercise. I hate this show so much I'd rather get arrested by Ronnie Coleman, smell his farts in his police car, get taken to jail where I have Branch Warren and JOJ as my cellmates who try to teach me how to train properly to avoid joint injury. To top it off, my public attorney is George Farah, who promises to get me out if I have him do my diet for the next show. When it comes to a lot of lower back pain, do you prefer to take days off the gym, lift lighter, use more machines, massage, or chiropractor?
All the above. If I'm suffering with lower back pain, I guess would be the right answer. I mean, you want to use as many modalities as possible. I'll tell you one thing that I've just started doing. It's kind of weird, and I don't know if anyone else will benefit from it. I do a lot of cycling now, and sometimes when I get off the bike, my back is kind of out of whack or something like that, or I throw something off. When I take a shower after I do my bike ride, and everything gets warmed up in a hot shower. I stretch. I stretch in the shower. I do side bends, I do forward bends, and I pop so many vertebrae back in place in my lower back. I can't even believe it sometimes, especially when I bend to the side. I'll bend my whole body to the side, both sides, and I'll just hold it in that warm water. And I guess it relaxes the muscles and everything. It's like getting an adjustment for myself. Try that. If you have a bad lower back, try stretching while you're in the shower.
Let's go to tattooed_freak82. What are the top protein sources in your view and best fats? Also, what are key minerals and vitamins a natural bodybuilder might need but neglect?
Well, the best sources of protein, obviously, are the lean sources of protein. Probably the gold standard would be whey isolate, number one. And then if we want to go to foods, I like fishes, salmon, swordfish, even like flounder and cod, those are leaner fishes, the salmon and swordfish being the fattier fishes. Tuna's great. I like, lean chicken breast, turkey breast, even red meats, fillets, top round, cut, really good. I'm not really a big pork eater, but a lot of guys like white meat pork is pretty good source of lean protein. I'm not really into the plant sources of protein as much like the beans. I do eat beans, but I wouldn't call them a high quality source of protein because they're really not complete. As far as fats go, I'm a bit. Oh, I forgot eggs too. Eggs are the best source of protein as well. I mean, right up there with whey isolate, whole eggs. But I love the yolks for essential fats, especially the omega-3 eggs. I love macadamia oil is right at the top of my list. You just can't eat enough of the stuff. I pour it all over my food all day long. Also almonds and cashews and walnuts, great source of fat. All natural, even peanut butters I like to incorporate a lot. Maybe not as high a quality as the nuts, but still good burning sources of fat. And obviously fish oils coming from the wild caught fishes. As well as supplemental form. Now, a lot of people ask me about vitamins and minerals. I know that was the other question he had. It's hard for me. I'm not going to sit here and list every mineral and vitamin and that your body requires, but I'll tell you what, I did the work for you already. If you look at V Mineralize from Species Nutrition, it took me a very, very long time to put together the essential fats. The essential vitamins, minerals, and trace metals in that product. All the minerals being chelated minerals, all the vitamins being high potency dosages. It took me, I had to get them inside 10 pills because I knew no one would. People don't even like to take 10 pills a day, but I got them in 10 pills. You got everything you possibly could want it or need in there, including antioxidants and fruit and vegetable extracts in there as well. You use that for your vitamin and mineral source, you don't have to worry about anything. And then if you add Omega-Lyze on top of that for your essential fatty acids, which is your omega-3s and 6s. Also, we have the omega-7 fat palmitoleic acid in there as well. You got an insurance policy for health, well-being, and recovery.
You're watching Ask Dave, RxMuscle.com, brought to you by Species Nutrition. Reminder, Seth Feroce live with on RX Muscle at 5:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We go back to the questions. AAMCH 1981. Dave, first question, when will you introduce your son to your epic film, Reconstruction of a Bodybuilder? And second, what do you think of... Let's go with that question first. I'll go to the second one after.
I thought the question was going to be, when is he going to make his debut on RX Muscle Television? But and that could be sooner than later. I think I got to wait till his eyes stay open a little longer than 10 minutes a day because he's doing a lot of sleeping now. And I don't think he's ready for... I don't think he can handle Jimmy the Bull quite yet. Maybe when he starts talking a little bit and he can ask me questions like, who's that? That's the other question.
Second, what do you think of the research that says Nandrolone is 11 times more damaging to blood vessels than test, and that is damaging to the heart? Do you feel that DECA presents a greater cardiovascular risk than other anabolics?
I don't. Matter of fact, I don't believe that anabolics damage the heart. I think what they do, however, is they thicken the heart. So when you're training... Just like the training response will thicken your heart, I think combined with anabolic steroids, it can make the heart even thicker. And I think that's the danger in some people, because some people, when their heart gets thicker, it doesn't function as well. Because the thicker the wall of the heart, the longer it takes the signal to pass through that wall and make the heart contract. So sometimes people get arrhythmias when their heart gets a little bigger in size. And so that's where I think the problem arises. I don't think it's the steroids themselves.
Let's go to Lewis_C_WA. Hey, Dave, I hate this show so much, I'd rather take a bullet for, and he says, but other Dave, what's your opinion of HMB, and do you feel it has any true benefit?
HMB is a metabolite of the amino acid leucine, and we all know that leucine is necessary for turning on the protein machinery post-workout and starting the protein repair process. So people tried to create all kinds of leucine metabolites. Alpha ketoglutarate was one of them. Ornithine ketoglutarate. There was a lot of derivatives of it. And HMB back in the 90s was another one that they felt would act as an anti-catabolic type nutrient. Didn't really pan out as well as they thought. They didn't, they did a couple studies, and you can pretty much prove anything in one study or another, but nothing panned out to the point where it was worthy of taking it, I guess, long term, because the product was very expensive. HMB, it might still be around. I haven't really seen much of it lately, and it kind of just fell off. Most supplements that work don't fall off. Like creatine was a supplement that worked, and it's still around as strong today as it was when it first came out in the 90s. So I'm not a huge advocate of HMB. I know that they did have a product called Juven that they were selling for AIDS patients. I think it was HMB with glutamine combination, and it was AIDS patients would get it through their insurance, and I don't know if it did anything or not, but and I don't even know if it's around anymore. But to me, it's one of those supplements that just didn't stand the test of time.
We got a complicated one here from SHWGCT. Hey, Dave, I hate this show so much, I'd rather call Chris Aceto the gay pro creator just to piss off George the pro liar. And Hani, I'm not even going to go there. While Steve Bleckman screams about digital marketing. Hashtag #WhyComeback. Question, is intermittent fasting good for fat loss, and what's a good way to control cortisol levels?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about intermittent fasting on this show before. Intermittent fasting implies that you don't fast the whole day, you fast a part of the day. I've talked about doing intermittent fasting on my 3-week detox that, by the way, if anyone wants a copy of, I will provide for free. I've given out probably 1,000 copies as of probably the last year since I've started mentioning it. You can email me at huge285@aol.com. I'll send you a copy of it. But intermittent fasting, the whole concept behind it is that if you don't eat for, here's the deal. After your last meal, it takes 8 hours for your body to kind of get rid of everything that's in your body, okay, through the digestive tract. At that point, your body will start to detoxify itself. All the toxins will be released. The organs will start to clean themselves. The problem is that most people don't go more than 8 hours without eating. You go to bed at night, you wake up, you have breakfast. So intermittent fasting implies that you're giving your body more than 8 hours a day to detox where you're not eating. And I found that 12 hours of eating and then 12 hours of non-eating is a great way to go. That's part of the premise of the 3-week detox that I created. However, I'm not competing in bodybuilding anymore. Matter of fact, I only eat 3 times a day if I'm lucky now. I don't need to eat all day. If I eat more than that, I gain muscle. I don't want to get any bigger. So for me, I intermittently fast every day. I only eat between the hours of about 12 midnight and 12 noon, okay? Or the opposite. I don't eat during those hours. So I have a 12-hour fast every day pretty much, and I feel that it helps detoxify my body. My skin is good. I feel good. My digestive system works well that way. But then again, I'm older too, so when you're younger, your digestive system can handle more of it. Now, some days I eat more. I might not go 12 hours with fasting, but I find it works well for me. Now, how does it translate to fat loss? Well, if you gorge yourself in the 12 hours that you are eating, you'll get fat. Okay. Intermittent fasting will cause you to lose weight if you're missing meals, but you're not overcompensating on the times that you are eating. Once again, if it's going to develop bad eating habits, disordered eating habits because you're so hungry from the time you're fasting that you're going to overeat when you're not fasting, then that's not a good program for you. If you can control and portion size yourself down, then you probably will notice some weight loss. The people I put on my detox for 3 weeks lose weight a lot of times because sometimes being too toxic in your body will prevent you from losing fat. And how does that happen? Well, your body likes to store toxins in your fat cells. If your fat cells are being used as a dumping ground for toxins, okay, your body's not going to let go of that fat tissue, okay? If you get rid of the toxins and those toxins leave the fatty tissue, now the body will mobilize those fatty acids more regularly.
We have time for just a couple more questions. A reminder, live at 5:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're going to be joined by Seth Feroci. You're not going to want to miss that one. Got a couple of Olympia-related questions, so we'll save the bold prediction one for the last. But the first one, I'm Mike Mercado. Dave, I hate this show so much, I would rather take a poison dart frog enema than listen to this show. All right, here's a good one. At the Olympia, the open class trophy is a standout. How would you feel about the classic physique class trophy being a Zane?
It's not a bad idea. I'm not against it. But is Frank Zane an icon in bodybuilding? Yeah, he was Mr. Olympia 3 times. Why not call it a Ronnie Coleman? Or a Lee Haney, I don't know. I think that Joe Weider picked the Sandow because Eugene Sandow was a pioneer in the industry. Why not call it a Weider? You can call it a Weider trophy because Joe is the one who, pretty much put the whole sport on the map. So, yeah, I don't know. I think by saying it's a Zane, that's like putting down the other Mr. Olympias and saying they're not as aesthetic. So, I'm not sure. I'm not sure it needs its own name, but it might not be a bad idea. We should put it to a vote.
B.Wacky is asking for a bold prediction. You probably can already guess what the question is going to be, but I'll ask it anyway. Will Ramy win the Olympia this year?
I'm going to go on record. Here's my prediction: top three at the Olympia this year, in no particular order. Big Ramy, Kai Green, Phil Heath.
Wow. All right. So that wasn't exactly a no, was it?
Nope, it wasn't.
That is going to do it for this episode of Ask Dave. A reminder, Seth Feroce live with 5:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is in about 25 minutes right here on rxmuscle.com. Dave, you want to chime in?
One more thing. This Saturday, I have my Secrets to Becoming a Diet Guru course. We're going to be giving it here in the RX Muscle Studios in Westbury, New York. We have a couple spots still open. This was a smaller class this year. We only have about 4 or 5 people. Usually I limit it to about 10 or 12. But it's a smaller class. It means a better learning experience, more one-on-one attention from me. It's not too late to sign up because we do have spots left. You can go to DavePalumbo.com and sign up. I promise you, it will be a learning experience of a lifetime. If this is what you want to do with your life, you want to make this a career for yourself, you got to learn the science of bodybuilding, the science of diet, the science of supplements, the science of performance-enhancing drugs, the science of detoxification, the science of how to set up diets and protocols, and how to get people in the best shape of their life. And that's what I teach you for 10 hours this Saturday. Plus, you'll get lunch at Taco Joe's, dinner at Sushi Village, and a huge gift bag of Species nutrition products and all kinds of paraphernalia. So, guys, if you're in striking distance and you want to drive down for Saturday afternoon, you're going to love it. It's 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sign up at DavePalumbo.com.
That's going to do it for Ask Dave. For Dave and Johnny Styles, we will see you at 5:15 p.m. for Live with Seth Feroce. Have a good one.